Why bother with a cycling coach? Is it even worth the money? I used to be totally skeptical. For over a year, I just rode my bike, joined hard drop rides and thought I was progressing. But I wasn't doing the most I could. I was being naive. Since finding a coach, my whole outlook has changed. Structured training holds me accountable, it's enjoyable, and it has absolutely made me stronger. So what does a week of structured training actually look like, and what kind of sessions I'll be talking about? If you want to see a full week of structured training, plus the insights and the breakdown from my coach Ryan after those punishing threshold sessions, you have to watch to find out.
Alright, so on the agenda today, we've got 20 minutes warm up at 201 to 255 watts. Then we've got 2 activations, which is a 1 minute activation at 383 to 402 watts. 5 repeats of 3 minute efforts, but the efforts are at VO2, so aiming for zone 5, VO2 at 402 to 438 watts, 5 times for 3 minutes. It's gonna hurt. So I'm just doing my 20 minute warm up now.
Alright, so after the 20 minutes of warm up, I had to do my 2 activations. As I mentioned before, it was 1 minute at 383 to 402 watts, and then we go into a 2 minute rest where you're kind of at a recovery, zone 1, and then you do another activation. So this is me doing the first activation here. We're aiming for 383 to 402 watts. So I'm trying to get into a little bit of a rhythm here so I can hold the watts and be at a good level for the 1 minute effort. Not gonna lie, these 1 minute activations hurt today as well. I wasn't feeling great and the legs felt a little bit fatigued coming into this, so I was not looking forward to the 5x3s that laid ahead.
That's the activators done. We got 2 minutes, and then I gotta jump into VO2 for 3 minutes, 5 sets. Whew.
Here is the start of the 3 minute effort, which I found quite difficult on the day. I think CP or Centennial Park is a pretty hard spot to hold 400, 420 watts for 3 minutes, especially given that you've got cars, slight downhill, and people jumping out as well. I did actually manage to nail this first 3 minute effort, and there will be a breakdown at the end from my coach, showcasing how I went and the drop off that we actually do see through the efforts. So throughout the efforts, obviously I had to do 5 of them, and by the 5th one, I was pretty cooked and the fatigue had started to set in. On the 5th effort, I actually really struggled and I couldn't manage to get anywhere near my number. I think I did maybe 40 watts under what I was trying to achieve. So this is something that we're trying to work on, Ryan and I. I do think that the VO2 stuff is an area of improvement that I could probably put some more time into. And working on, or riding in, should I say, chop rides, I always think to myself now of it being like a VO2 effort or a 30-15. So, you know, you're like, all right, my roll through here is about 30 seconds, and I get my 15 seconds, if not more, rest. So doing 30-15s has really helped me, especially with chop riding, because typically when you're rolling turns, you're only doing maybe a 30-second turn and then someone else is rolling through, and you get that little sit-in where you get your rest, which is your 15 to 20 seconds recovery. So these are actually quite new to me. We're doing 5x3s here. So it's actually 3 minutes at VO2, which bloody hurts, and you really feel the fatigue starting to set in the legs, lactic acid buildup, and it's really quite hard. As you just saw, I had to go around that car there as well to continue the effort, which definitely isn't ideal because I had to surge up quite high, hitting over 500 watts, and that ruins my legs for the final efforts. So the few little squirts that I have to get out here can actually ruin the later efforts in the day. So sets the fatigue in earlier, and we were trying to keep it pretty low here around the 400 watt mark.
Alright, that fucking hurt. Carrot in the mouth. No good shout. It's the first 3 minute done. Whew. Can't say I'm gonna put that in my mouth for the next 4. Because it's pretty brutal. We got 3 minutes in between them. Got a minute 30 left right now. Peep the glasses too. Had some seriously mixed reviews on them. I think they're kind of funky though. Just finished the 3rd one. That fucking hurt, man. Whew. Yeah, this isn't good. 2 left, let's get it. That's number 4. I'm fucked. All right, all the efforts are done. That last one, absolute garbage. I don't even think I got 380 on that last one. That fucking hurt, man. At least that's it. Hardest session of the week done.
had our first sort of classic style VO2 session. We've been doing some hard start threshold and exposing you to a bit of hard start VO2 and some like 30-15s on off style VO2, but this was your first sort of classic one. First thing to note is based on the terrain where you live, it's actually quite difficult to execute VO2 work on flat and high speed. So I don't usually look at the speed, but in this scenario, power targets we were aiming for were 402 to 440, which is pretty high, but really wanted to see what you're able to do for this one, being the first style of this VO2 work. You can see your average for each 3 minutes speed is quite high, so 46k an hour for the first one. So it's actually quite hard to generate power at that speed. There is evidence to show that you can do more power up a climb. So it actually may have probably been better. Like looks like they're around the lap. You're around the same spot every lap doing the 3 minutes. So you might have been better off doing it on like the gradual uphill where the speed's a bit lower. You probably would have done 35 to 40k an hour. Maybe been able to press on the pedals a little bit more, but something to consider for next time. So the first 4 efforts were done pretty well. First 2, 3 were right at the bottom of the range, 110% of threshold, which is good. We want to work on that. We want to try and get it up a lot higher, but it's a good starting point. 4th one started to drop a little bit, and then the 5th one really dropped off. So fatigue really started creeping in there. So definitely some work to do here, but good to get one of these under your belt and track this move forward as well. Good start to the week. Good exposure to some hard work.
All right, welcome back. This is Wednesday. So this is a pretty chill training session today. We are doing zone 2. So it's base zone 2. Aim here is just to stay in that power range. So it's a 5-minute warm up, and then it is 80 minutes at 237 to 255 watts. So that's kind of like low zone 2 with an average of 80 to 95 RPM. And then we got a 5-minute cool down. So we're just gonna duck over to Centennial Park. Anyway, let's get into it, and I'll see you at CP. Almost finito on the Z2 for 80 minutes. 14 minutes left. Fuck, I just have the worst luck, eh? Bummer. 6 minutes from finishing zone 2. 6 minutes from finishing zone 2 and we get a fucking puncture. Honestly, I can't make this shit up. I think I'm cursed with tubeless and cursed with tubes. We had to put a tube in the tyre in CP, which is unheard of. I did 46 kilometers and it was an hour and 25 minutes with a average of 32 k's an hour, and we did 238 watts for an hour and 20 minutes. Tomorrow is meant to be either 2 hours zone 2 or hard bunchy. I can take my pick. We are on our way over to Centennial Park for Centennial Park morning chop. So it starts at 5:45. It's about 5:32 right now. Let's get into it.
Thursday morning, which was actually really solid. So had some peak 90-minute powers in here, 90-day power, which is good to see. You can see the actual chop, if we zoom in, was quite solid. So 47.6k an hour for 49 minutes. So yeah, really, really solid shot. Normalized power 352, so 96% of threshold for that sort of duration. So not nice and high. Average 325. So yeah, again, right up there. Average heart rate 156, up into threshold zone. So you're really pushing for this 50 minutes. But one thing that I mentioned this in the comments, and we'll talk about here, is this final section. From when I'm looking at a chop or a session like this, it's like I'm trying to pick out points that look quite hard. And I just noticed that this last little bit looked quite difficult. So you can see your heart rate here. It's up quite high from the start all the way up until around here. Then you have a bit of a respite and where you've sat on, missed a couple of turns here. And then this final bit, you can see a lot of big spikes in power. So 2 really big spikes here. But from this point on, around here to the end, it's around 6 minutes. But normalized power up around that 397. So essentially pretty close to what you were doing for those VO2 efforts on Tuesday. Really solid to be able to do a 6-minute normalized power effort like that. Yeah, at the end of a 50-minute almost threshold chop. So you said this is you had some of the best legs you've had for a while in this ride. So yeah, it was really nice to see that, and it's a really good confidence booster to know that you can still go this hard and put out some really good accelerations up above 900 watts and 1,000 watts here at the end of something quite solid. So yeah, that was really good to see.
On the agenda this morning, we've got recovery, low zone 2. So we're just doing a little coffee ride with the crew. Alright, that concludes the recovery zone 2, sorry. Now we're just going over to get coffee. We've done 32, 33 Ks. Good morning. Fresh legs for tomorrow. Alright, that is it for Friday. Zone 2 recovery ride. Preparing ourselves for Saturday, coming into Oddsboat Cup. So big day on the cards tomorrow. We are out at Eastern Creek for another crit. I know you're probably thinking, fucking, you only did a video on this 2 weeks ago, mate. But it's a proper event, not a little local crit. So we're tucking in, going in Div 2, which is probably a stronger field of B grade, I'd say. And it's a big turnout, 31 people racing in the group today. And then there's 48 in Div 1, so it's a big race. Probably do some warm up, gonna sign on, and then tuck in. Hey mate.
Max.
Man, MA double N.
122. Right on top for you. 125.
Race day, baby. So we're out on course. We're doing some recon. We'll see. We'll see. Me or Johnny on the podium. Let's hope. Touch wood. We don't know what the course is yet though. It could be short, could be long. So doing some course recon. Both of us in Div 2. This is the Oddsboat Cup. It's what would you call it, Johnny? Like a big Oz cycling event, or
It's a fucking big crit.
a big crit? Not a local crit though, right? It's like a level up from a local crit.
Yeah.
You got some proper hitters out here today. Unfortunately, there's no crit footage for today. At the start of the race, I did something stupid and quite idiotic. Thinking my camera was off, I pressed the button to turn it on. However, it actually turned the camera off because it was already recording. Maybe some nerves and stupidity running through my brain at the time, so no crit footage, and I finished the race, pulled up the camera, and was absolutely gutted. So, unfortunately, nothing here for crit footage. I'm actually really pissed off. We're in the car heading home. Bit of a shit one, to be honest. Wasn't really that hard. Like, I mean, there were a few squirts, but average power was only 247 apparently. And max average power was 297, so not that high. Normalized was 313 watts. Still a little bit of a burner, but lots of freewheeling, and unfortunately we weren't really positioned very well coming into the sprint. Made up some numbers at the back there. I was like very back of the pack when we came into the sprint. Pretty happy to get 10th considering there was 31 people or even more in the race. That was Saturday's training day. Bit of racing, and then tomorrow we've got a bit of a long ride.
good to get involved in the club race. The race here was 54 minutes. 54 minutes with a normalised power of 338, so 93% of threshold, which again, quite solid, but not as hard as the chop ride. So the chop ride from an actual power perspective was way harder. Only 5 minutes less for your chop on Thursday, but you averaged 40 more watts, and I think it was another 20 watts more for your normalised power. So a lot harder from the chop ride perspective, and even your average heart rate was 8 beats less average than what you were on the chop. So definitely went harder in the chop, but that's what a chop is all about, and racing is very different. You're racing based on what's actually happening. Still quite solid, quite a lumpy course, big wide open course, but there's a lot of time up in this zone 6, so above 120% of threshold, but a lot of spikes in power. Nothing crazy in terms of your peak powers in here. So a lot of your peak powers were a long way off, but we don't really expect that in racing. It's quite hard just because it's on-off nature. Let's look at the end. We'll just zoom in on this last lap, which looked pretty solid. A couple of big accelerations here. So going up the first around this U-turn here. Up the first, you're on 700 watts. Up the hill to hold the wheel, 40k an hour. Bit of recovery around here. Back up the hill again, pushing 700 watts following your tax, I'm assuming. Holding position, backed off a little bit. And full recovery. So it must have been quite quick here, freewheeling, getting ready for a sprint. But full respite around this corner and punching back up. But going into the sprint, it's from your messages, it sounded like you're a bit far back. You can see the speed already as soon as you get to the top of this rise. It's 60 plus k an hour. So from the sprint here, it's a really fast sprint. It's a 67k an hour for almost 300 meters. So it's really, really quick sprint. So it's really hard to, if you think about if you're 20 wheels back to come around someone and they're doing 65k an hour, you're probably going to have to do 70k an hour to get around. So, and it's quite hard to do that. The average cadence was 106 for that. So you probably have a bit more room there. Definitely sounds like positioning was the main factor in the actual result. A good lesson to learn that, try and be a bit further up in the sprint.
All right, good morning. So it is Sunday morning and I'm waiting for Jack at Taylor Square. Just past 5, it's 5:19. And we're going to do West Head with the Raddies. Plan for the day is get a little bit of elevation in, more than I typically would. Training for Bowral now, so Ryan has put into my training plan as much elevation as possible. Give that a whirl. Legs today, absolutely cactus after yesterday's race. Few squirts in West Head. Ooh, I'm really cooked, eh? Blimey. What a way to end a week of structured training, eh?
Mate, it's all about balance.
That concludes 1 week of structured training. For a hard-earned thirst, I would say. Didn't do as much elevation as I'd probably hoped. We did 1,600 meters, so definitely need to crack on with some more elevation for next time.
Overall, good ride, good finish off to the week, and finished off, with 12 hours of riding time and almost 400k. So overall, good training week. A couple of easy days now before whacking in a bunch ride again and getting another bit more climbing ride on Saturday again. So good week, mate.
Sorry, Ryan, for not breaking the 2k. But this has been a week of training. So obviously through the week we did some hard VO2 stuff. We did chop ride, we did a race, and then we did a lot of base zone 2 as well. And then today was kind of general endurance, long zone 2, focusing on trying to get some more meters in the legs coming into Bowral. So if you're interested, I can also do a week on like diet and training combined. So a little bit of a glimpse into how I eat and then how I am training on the bike too. And coming into summer, I am actually trying to lean down a little bit, put on a little bit of winter weight. So we're trying to drop some kilos. I think I've dropped about 500 grams in the last week, just from counting my macros and weighing out my food. So being very strict, but it's been pretty good and happy with the progress. Don't actually have that much to lose, but a little bit's better than none. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. And if you have any questions, any queries, or you'd like to see anything along the lines of training, structure, diet, give me a yell and I will do my best to fulfill those needs. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Ciao.